Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live. Today, we're going to be talking about, does accessibility equate to quality in life? I'll explain why this topic is important or relevant, I guess, to this month's discussion. But first, I want to start off by just showing off and shouting out one of our sponsors to say thank you for sponsoring our Boss Bay Business Show. And then I'm going to bring our Instagram viewers on. JC Fashion Finds Boutique is one of our sponsors that has decided to sponsor the Boss Bay Business Show that is dedicated to promoting and advertising small businesses nationwide and even worldwide at $0 for the year of 2026. We usually go on the show and allow the members of our directory to come and be interviewed unlimited. And then people who are not members of our directory, we do our best to try to interview them at least one time on our show in the year, 1 to about 7 times, depending on, their business and things like that. So thank you so much, JC Fashion Finds, for being a patron to our business and a sponsor. Today, I wanted to remind everyone that if you are subscribed to our channel, you earn a chance to win a free website. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and sign up now. Now, let's move into this discussion of, does accessibility equate to quality in life? So I wanted to talk about this because at Soft Girl Sunday, I had a couple of really beautiful emotional recaps that I'm planning on sharing this evening, but I want to start off with this portion of it because it relates to so many areas of our life. And I've had these experiences, but I've also listened to other people's experiences. So in relationships, in friendships, in family relationships, in business ships, whatever you want to call them, oftentimes we equate accessibility from a person to quality. Now, I'll start this off with a disclaimer of just saying that there's an exception to every rule. But I also want to share that oftentimes we use a label to define whether or not a person is of quality or a thing is of quality, when in reality, we need to be looking at the actions. So accessibility does not always equate to quality in life. When you think about your friendships, think about the people that you've known over the years. How many people have experienced a relationship with a friend where they weren't necessarily the best friend? Like, they didn't want the best for you, they didn't put you in comfortable situations, or they placed you in uncomfortable situations. They went out of their way to do things that were intentionally negative. They weren't a good friend, but they were accessible. They were in your face. They were always around. They were reachable. You could call them. So they might have been accessible to you physically, right? Verbally, emotionally, whatever you want to call it. But were they a good friend is the question. And many times that's not always the case. So I've seen times where a person has misinterpreted what the value of a friendship is simply because a person doesn't get back to them at the time frame that they think they should be getting back to them. Like, I have a friend who doesn't do text messages. I mean, they do, but they don't. So I'm not going to really be expecting him to be responding via text or calling or messaging me via text. Now, I'm not really a text person myself, so it didn't really matter to me, or let me say it didn't affect me. But at the same time, I also know that if I called this individual and asked them for their help, that they will more than likely be supportive of me. And even if they couldn't do what I was asking of them in that moment, they would do their best to support or contribute to whatever it is I need help with. They wish the best for me. That's what I'm saying at the end of the day. So I didn't go based off the fact that they couldn't text me, all day, that meant that they weren't a good friend. But I have seen situations where people have told me they let go of friendships because they felt like a person wasn't communicating fast enough, or they felt like a person wasn't showing up enough. And showing up is subjective. How you feel a person should show up is different from how a person may feel they should show up as a friend. And we have to learn to meet each other in the middle as friends, because you can't expect everyone to bend to your will. The world does not revolve around you. Now, you may have your own way of doing things, but other people have their own way of doing things as well. So if you feel like being a supportive friend is showing up to a banquet, or let's say showing up to a dinner, but your friend feels like being a supportive friend is wishing the best for you and showing up when they can, you guys are going to have that conversation, and there's going to have to be a acceptance of the reality of where you both are. Are you accepting what this person is saying? Are you willing to meet them in the middle? But you can't just expect that people are just going to do that. And so when you assume that because a person is accessible to you, they're always saying yes to you, they're always available to you, they're always right around the corner, that means that they are great quality, or that they have good intentions for you. That is where you might make the mistake and A, miss out on really great quality people, and B, end up in a situation that you could not have projected because you assumed that because this person was available, that that meant that they were of quality and that they had a great character. And that's not always what that means. So I want to encourage people that if you have a friendship, um, hello, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. I'll do the best I can. I'm not a teacher, but I'll do the best I can. But they would, to assume that you miss out on really great relationships. So I'm saying that because I don't want people to miss out on great friendships, great opportunities, simply out of expecting or projecting what you think a person should or should not do and how they should do it onto them. Because the reality is that we are all different. And that's where the friendship aspect comes into play. I have friends that I'll talk to once a month. I have friends that I might talk to 3 times a year. I have friends that I might talk to every other week. It just depends, right? But one thing is for certain. If I'm calling them and I'm speaking to them, it's because I care about them. I want the best for them, and I'm always going to do my best to support them. I'm only one person. We are all only one person. So you can't expect one person to deliver every single thing and be your everything at all times, right? That's impossible. However, I can do my best as a friend to show up, to support, to encourage, to be positive. And that's my overall goal. My intention is to give you positivity. You know what I mean? So that's my goal. Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. I know they do gifts and stuff on social media, but I don't think I have unlocked that ability to do that on YouTube. Thanks for asking, though. But you can always donate to my website if you want to. It all goes back to small businesses. You'll learn more about me as we go. Hello, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, Andrew, and thank you for letting me know that. Colvin, hopefully I said your name okay or correctly. But yeah, so accessibility does not equate to quality in life. It doesn't. In friendships, I have friends that I fell out with because they didn't have the best intentions and they didn't treat me or appreciate me the way that I felt I should have been appreciated. And we talked all the time. We communicated constantly. And then I've had friends that I've known for years that we talked like a little bit less or way less, but I felt appreciated. I felt seen when I speak to them. I feel like embraced and loved, and I feel like they want the best for me. And I feel like when we talk, we can share happiness, we can share tears because I know that they're a positive influence on my life. And that's why I don't say, well, because you don't talk to me, because you're not always sitting down by your phone waiting to speak to me, that means you're not a good friend, because that's absolutely irrelevant to whether or not a person is a good person or not. Some people are intentionally accessible because they know that people mistake accessibility for quality and for good character, and they're trying to get close to you. When in reality, they know they don't have good intentions for you. They know they have no plans to promote or support you. They simply want to gain access to you and get close to you. So they're going to be overly accessible to you. So you can assume that because they're overly accessible, that means that they're a good person or they are of quality in life, in friendship, in romance, and in business. Now I want to move to, you can relate to me? Good. I mean, I'm glad you can relate, because honestly, I think a lot of times people just don't understand that. I've had friends, like I said, for years, that we talk when we talk. I catch up with you when I catch up with you, and there's no negativity. And sometimes people come back and apologize, like, oh, I'm so sorry. When in reality, you don't need to apologize for coming back and following up with the person when you are able to follow up with them. There's no apology needed when we're friends, when this is a relationship that is mutual, because we're both supposed to benefit from this. It's not supposed to be a strain on one of us. So, you come back and you communicate when you can. And I call you and I'll check in, but that's another reason why you have more than one friend, or you try to build relationships with more than one friend, because maybe one friend isn't available at this time and you can just simply call another friend who's available at that time. But don't think that that one friend is supposed to just be available to you all the time. And when they're not, that means they're not a good friend. So that's the message that I'm sharing. Then we move into romance. A lot of times in romantic relationships, people assume that accessibility means that a person is of quality. I had a time when I was talking to a gentleman, and his commentary about me was that I must not be serious because I don't respond back fast enough. I don't get back to him fast enough. And let me put a little information on this. We weren't in a relationship. We weren't in an exclusive relationship where, this is my partner that I have committed to exclusively. We do not live in the same household. I am not expecting anything from this person. What they give is what they give. What I give is what I give. That's where we were at with our relationship. However, the statement that was created. And we also weren't even going on, consistent dates or anything like that. We were in the early phases. But the feedback that I received was that I must not be serious about romance or relationships because I wasn't responding back fast enough. And he couldn't be so much further from the truth, because not only am I serious about relationships and building something real, but I also wanted to build something that I felt like could have been positive with that individual. However, you jumping to the conclusion that because I'm not responding back at the time that you feel I should respond back, it showed me that maybe this isn't going to be a great fit. Maybe we have a different perspective. And me personally, I feel that when a person assumes that you should be receptive to them when they feel like you should be receptive to them, and they just disregard all the reality, it's toxic. It's a toxic behavior and trait. We need to learn how to take a deep breath and expect that people will come back and respond when they are able to respond. But just being on somebody's back and then degrading them, being negative towards them, or acting out of anger simply because you do not have immediate access is a toxic trait and behavior, because you're being angry about something that has nothing to do with you in any way. So this individual made the statement and said, you're not really serious because you didn't get back fast enough, and you're not really talking to me fast enough. Well, I also state that I've met people, I've talked to people that I have known throughout the years who have shared to me just how unserious they were about a relationship. And I've also seen how accessible they were to people that they were talking to. So if you assume that a person is not of quality and they are not serious simply because they are not accessible to you at all times of the day and night, you'll be making a big mistake, because you'll miss out on people who are of quality. And what you start to learn in life and even in business is that the more intentional people are about their time, about their commitments, about their communication, the higher of quality you are likely to receive from that person, because they have really sat down and taken the time to create a system or to create a communication that aligns with their values and the quality that they want to deliver. That's not in all cases, but that's what I've seen in my experience. So to assume that a person is not of quality or is not serious about a romantic connection simply because they're not responding back to you when you feel they should respond back to you, you're making a huge mistake. Because I have met people who have stayed in my life and been supportive of me, even though we did not work out romantically. And I'm so happy that I found them. These people have supported my business. Some of them have even met people in my family or know people in my family. Like, we've developed a positive connection. And I'm so glad that I didn't assume that just because they weren't getting back to me quickly enough, that meant that they weren't of quality. There has to be more behaviors behind that. That can't be the only behavior that you look at a person and say that they are of quality or not of quality simply because they're not communicating when you feel they should communicate, because they're a different person and you're a different person. So, accessibility does not equate to quality. How many relationships have you had where a person was accessible to you, but with time you realize that they were not of quality or they did not have a good character? I'm talking romantic relationships right now. So there's plenty we can talk about, but this one specifically is romantic. Hello, thanks for joining, Jamie. Happy Monday. So that's just an example. That's one of many examples. Then we talked about personal, like friendships, right? We talked about business, or no, we didn't talk about this. We talked about relationships. Let's talk a little bit about, actually, let me go back to relationships one last time. There's one last thing I want to touch on. Here's another thing. People say things about you not being serious about communication or not being serious about a connection. And you know what I found, what I got a chance to be a testimony to, I guess I should say, is one of the individuals who made a statement about me and my seriousness or my quality of an individual, of a person, just because I wasn't responding at the time that they felt, ended up realizing that I was one of the few people that they were able to call consistently in their corner. They realized when it was too late. And obviously I had already released them to the whatever streets they came from, but we had already let them go. But they realized that when they needed things, when they needed support, when they needed encouragement, when they wanted a positive spirit around them, I was one of those people that showed up consistently. So don't let people that are overly accessible trick you into thinking that they are high quality or of character, because the same person who is overly accessible to you and always available can be the same person to turn their back on you or to kick you while you're down. So keep that in mind in friendships and in relationships. If no one ever told you, I'm saying it today. Now we move into the business side of things. Hey, I'm just talking about the question, which is does accessibility equate to quality? Jamie, we're talking about that in all areas of life. Because it's been a topic of a very big conversation topic that I've been discussing. Let me briefly switch over to our Instagram crowd just to say hello to everyone if we have anyone watching from IG. And if not, that's okay. But I'm going to show off one of our show sponsors. TravelWithMJ.net has sponsored Boss Babe Business Show so that we can continue to promote. Hello. Thank you for joining Official Diney. Official Diney. I hope I said your name right. But thank you for joining on Instagram. I appreciate you and I appreciate you dropping the hearts. I try to flip back and forth on my Instagram, guys. I do the best I can. Okay, so now we move into business for entrepreneurs and for shoppers. Now we'll start with entrepreneurs because tonight we're going to be doing a lot of entrepreneurial talk and we're going to be doing a lot of talk about self-development. So Soft Girl Sunday recap is coming soon. But let's talk about entrepreneurship. Oftentimes, people equate accessibility to quality in entrepreneurship. And I've seen this many times, many times. Okay. So I've had an individual that said, hey, I'm thinking about trying this service. This person is responsive. They're doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm really enjoying the fact that I can just reach them, call them anytime they need, That's wonderful, right? But then I've also had the same individual come back and request for me to fix something that they purchased the first time that they were expecting was going to come out at a certain level of quality, and it did not come out produced at that quality. So it's not to say that you can't get accessibility and quality at the same time, but it is to say that you shouldn't make the mistake of assuming that a person not being accessible at all times means that they don't have a great quality and can produce wonderful quality for you. And you also shouldn't mistake someone who is overly accessible for somebody that is able to produce high quality results for you and able to provide high quality experience or expertise, because that's not always going to be the case. And you can find yourself doing what a lot of entrepreneurs end up doing and end up frustrated about, which is having to go back and repurchase a service that they've already purchased because they thought that because a person was accessible, that meant they were going to get a great amount of quality. Sometimes, like I said, in friendship, people can be accessible to the point just enough to make you feel like they have good intentions and that they're going to produce quality when they're taking care of you. And then they're not going to produce that quality. So if you're looking for accessibility, make sure that quality follows with it. The reason why this topic has been really important to me and I've been bringing it up is because I'm seeing that we live in this world of instant gratification where people are thinking that everything should come instantly when that is just simply not reality. Now, maybe when you're dealing with computers, maybe when you're dealing with, I don't know, something that's just not real. But in reality, a lot of beautiful things that take time, effort, and investment come with time, effort, and investment. So we're not going to see what it is that we're looking for instantly. People who are professional, people who are serious about their craft, take a lot of time to study their craft. But most importantly, they are very intentional about the process of delivering their craft. Okay. I'm not saying that you can't get things quickly. You can. And you can also purchase those things and get them quickly. And I have a solution that I'll talk about later on this evening, and I'll briefly bring it up today. But it's just to say to be careful not to mistake somebody just being accessible for somebody providing quality, because that's not always going to be the case. And doing that in life, it can lead to you being disappointed because the quality that you would have received from an individual that is intentional and making sure that they're taking the time to produce that quality or to provide that support or to be that friend or to be that romantic partner, it's different versus a quality that you would get from a person who is simply just trying to be accessible to you or making sure that they're accessible to you. It's just a different type of quality that you're going to see sometimes. It's not in all cases. Like I said in the beginning of this live, there are always exceptions to every rule, but don't think that because you are in a relationship and you're overly accessible to a person that equates to your value or that equates to the quality that you bring to their life, because it doesn't. And don't think that if you have a friend and you're overly accessible to that friend, then that equates to your friend feeling support from you or you being supportive. Sometimes we want to overcompensate as people, as humans. We want to overcompensate. We have to let go of that urge of overcompensation and have value and have confidence in the products and the value that we're delivering. Even if it's not a product, even if it's you being yourself, have confidence in yourself enough to know that you do not have to overcompensate by being overly accessible and not pouring into yourself and taking care of your systems that you put in place for your personal life, for your romance life, for your business life. Have enough confidence in yourself and have enough confidence to say that it's okay if somebody else is looking for someone more accessible. You can simply just say goodbye and keep it moving. But that's really what we need to learn. That is extremely important, because you don't want to end up, like I said, in friendships, in romantic relationships, in business partnerships, where you think that because a person is accessible, it means that they are capable. Oops, sorry guys. I normally don't go live on this night. But we don't want to equate accessibility to capability, because they are both not the same. And accessibility is also not equated to experience either. So just keep that in mind in all areas of your life: friendship, romance, business, all of them. Because in every single area, I have seen an example of a person who was accessible, but simply was not capable or intentional when it came to delivering whatever it was they were delivering. Just because your friend checks in on you once a month does not mean they're not a good friend. If they care about you and they want to see you do well and they do their best to support you where they can, then they're a good friend. Unless you have a different definition of what a quote unquote good friend is, because I guess that is subjective. But let me not say they're a good friend. Let me say, just because a person isn't accessible when you think they should be, doesn't mean that their intentions and their quality is not of value. Okay, let's put it that way, because everybody has a different definition of what a good friend is, and everybody has different expectations, and that's okay. And on the same side of this, I also want to encourage and validate people who may feel like I'm not getting enough in a friendship, in a romance, in a business ship, whatever it might be. Validate that emotion and say that it's okay to voice those concerns, but it's also okay to just step up and move and go to the next room that makes sense for you. Don't sit in anything, because if you're sitting in it, it means either A, there's some part of you that wants it, or B, is a self-sabotage thing that we got going on where we're wasting our own time. So learning to get up and move to the next room if it's not making sense for you is extremely important if you're wanting to be successful in growing in any area of your life. And the longer we sit in something simply for the idea of sitting in it, the more time we waste on our own time. It only hurts and punishes us. So be proactive, move to the next step, move to the next room, and just keep it going. That's what we can do when we don't feel like we're getting what we deserve or what we want or what we need. It's important, okay? But we also have to practice self-awareness as well, and understand that just because a person is accessible does not mean that they are of quality. That's the message that I wanted to share this evening. I'm going to go ahead and end this live because I do have other messages that I want to talk about. But this is really for someone who might be going through it, or maybe you're trying to find the right support, or maybe you're feeling alone and you just need someone. You're in a vulnerable place. Don't allow being in a vulnerable place to trick you into thinking that a person who is accessible all the time means that they are intentionally proactive or intentionally trying to help you, or of quality or of value. I can't tell you how many people that I've met that are just accessible at any time of the day. But would I call them at any time of the day? No, I wouldn't, because I see the quality or the character that they produce. Therefore, I don't need to be speaking with you all the time. I don't want to be speaking with you all the time, because the quality and the character doesn't align with the quality and the character that I'm seeking. So I'm not going to mistake your accessibility for you being someone of great values or of great character or of great quality or of passion or of being intentional. Because once you start doing that, you start oh, thank you for checking in. BossBayBlog.com. If you go to BossBayBlog.com and you click on the page that says About Us, we have 3 forms. The first one is a Let's Chat form where you can fill out a form and be assisted. The second one is a feedback form for customers, people who have shopped with BossBayBlog.com, or if you shop with another business in our directory and you want to leave feedback about an item or a service that you purchased, then you would leave your feedback there. And then the third option is if you're wanting to sit down and do a one-on-one consult. Now, right now, as of now, the consult is $0. It may not always be that, but it is now. So anyone that wants to go to my website and book a consult, you are able to do that. That consult is 20 minutes long. It is not a business consultation. It is a business service consult to understand what your needs are and to determine where your budget is and find out what resources or services align with that. Because you might have an idea of what you need or want for your business, but your funding may be different. And it doesn't mean that we can't get you support. But I need to know what that funding looks like, and I need to know what that vision looks like, so I can determine if I have people in my network or if I have services myself that can support your business. Thank you for asking, Jamie. Okay, so with that being said, and if you do decide to check us out, I will be happy to take care of you. So with that being said, that's the message that I wanted to leave with everybody, because I do have other topics that I want to discuss, but I just really wanted to make sure that I shared that with anybody that might be in this, cycle of consistently, just going through the motions. We got to get out of the motions, and we have to understand that being intentional is the way you're going to see success and growth in your business and in your mindset. And when you're dealing with people who are intentional, in many cases, they will not always be openly accessible to you because they are intentional about their time, about their schedule, and about what it is they're trying to produce for you, for other people, and for themselves. Now, that's not every case, but that is. Now, if you're someone that is looking for accessibility as well as quality, as well as something that aligns with your funding, I do have services. If you're a business owner and you're seeking consulting, you can visit our website. I have more than one brand. However, there is a new service that I just produced that I'm only leaving to 5 clients exclusively because I want to ensure that I'm able to deliver it at the quality it needs to be delivered at. But this is a hands-on. Well, everything is hands-on here at Boss Babe Blog because there's no AI. This is human. So every interaction, every consult is a human sitting down and doing this with you. However, if you're wanting that assistance, you can head to our website, bossbabeblog.com, and we have a new service called the After Hours Service for business owners that are wanting more than their scheduled consultations, wanting more assistance, more insight. The next conversation that we're going to have is about how cheap does not equate to quality. So we talked about accessibility in life and how it does not equate to quality, at least in my perspective, in my business experience and life experience. And we're about to move to how cheap does not equate to quality in our next live. So thank you for watching this one. And if you want to join the next one, you can tune in on our YouTube channel or on our Instagram, wherever we're streaming from. Bye-bye, guys.